Looking back, I realize that sometimes the worst betrayals come wrapped in the most innocent intentions. Let me tell you about the day I planned to surprise my husband for our 25th wedding anniversary and ended up discovering something that would change everything. Michael and I had a tradition. Every milestone anniversary, we'd surprise each other with something meaningful. For our 10th, he'd taken me to Paris. For our 15th, I'd arranged a renewal of our vows on the beach where he proposed. For our 20th, he'd bought me the vintage piano I'd always dreamed of. We loved keeping each other guessing, building anticipation, making each celebration more special than the last. So when our 25th approached, I wanted to do something extraordinary. I spent months planning the perfect surprise party. I'd rented out the rooftop garden at the Riverside Inn, his favorite spot in Portland, invited all our closest friends and family, arranged for his favorite band to play, and even tracked down his college roommate from Boston whom he hadn't seen in 15 years. Everything was falling into place beautifully. The morning of our anniversary, I told Michael I had to fly to Seattle for an emergency meeting with a potential client. I owned a small interior design firm, and last-minute travel wasn't unusual. He'd seemed disappointed but understanding, kissing me goodbye at 6 that morning and telling me he'd planned something special for when I got back the next day. The Seattle trip was my cover. I'd actually booked a hotel room downtown to get ready and coordinate final party details. The plan was simple. I'd text him at 5 saying my meeting finished early, ask him to meet me at the Riverside Inn at 7 for a quiet anniversary dinner, and when he walked onto that rooftop, 60 people would shout, "Surprise!" But around 2 in the afternoon, the florist called with a crisis. They delivered the centerpieces to our house instead of the venue. I tried to have them redirected, but apparently their delivery driver had already left the arrangements on our front porch and moved on to other orders. The flowers were expensive, custom-arranged orchids and roses that would wilt in the afternoon heat. I had no choice but to go home and get them myself. I pulled into our driveway around 3. Michael's car was there, which surprised me since he'd mentioned having back-to-back meetings all day at his architecture firm. Maybe he'd come home for lunch and stayed to work remotely. I grabbed my keys, already thinking about how I'd get the flowers loaded without him noticing. The front door was unlocked. I stepped inside quietly, not wanting to disturb Michael if he was on a work call. The flower boxes were stacked neatly on the porch table, but as I reached for them, I heard voices coming from upstairs. Michael's voice, and a woman's laugh. My stomach dropped. I stood frozen in the foyer, my heart pounding. Part of me wanted to leave, to pretend I'd never heard anything, but I'd been married to this man for 25 years. I deserved to know the truth. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step feeling like it took an hour. The voices were coming from our bedroom. The door was slightly open. I could hear them clearly now. "Are you sure she said she wouldn't be back until tomorrow?" That was a woman's voice. I didn't recognize it. "She texted me this morning from the airport," Michael replied. "She's in Seattle. Probably in her meeting right now. We're fine." "Good, because what we're about to do, we need time to do it right." The woman laughed again. "I still can't believe we're actually going through with this." I pushed the door open. They were both fully clothed, standing near our dresser, but what I saw made my blood run cold. The woman was Amanda Rhodes, our financial advisor. She'd been managing our investments for 10 years, recommended by Michael's business partner. Papers were spread across our bed, our laptop was open, and Amanda was holding a folder I recognized as containing our account information. They both whipped around when they heard the door. Michael went pale. Amanda's hand flew to her mouth. "You're supposed to be in Seattle," Michael stammered. "Obviously not." My voice sounded steadier than I felt. "What's going on here?" Amanda recovered first, her face smoothing into a professional smile. "Oh, this is perfect timing, actually. Michael and I were just reviewing your portfolio. We have some exciting investment opportunities to discuss with you. On our anniversary? In our bedroom?" I looked at Michael. "Really?" He couldn't meet my eyes. I wanted it to be a surprise. A financial surprise. For tonight. Something in his tone felt wrong. In 25 years, I'd learned to read him like a book, and right now, every page screamed that he was lying. "Let me see those papers," I said. Amanda clutched the folder tighter. "This is really preliminary information, nothing concrete yet. Why don't we schedule a proper meeting next week at our office where I can present everything professionally?" "Let me see." Them. Michael's jaw tightened. Elizabeth, you're being unreasonable. Amanda came all the way here as a favor to me. And you invited our financial advisor into our bedroom on our anniversary. I crossed my arms. I'm the unreasonable one? They exchanged a look. It was brief, but I saw it. A look that said they'd been caught, that they needed to figure out how to handle this. That look told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't about investment opportunities. This was about something much worse. I want both of you to leave, I said quietly. Now, I'll deal with this later. After they left, I sat on our bed, staring at the papers they'd scrambled to collect. They'd missed one. It had slipped between the mattress and the bed frame. I pulled it out and started reading. It was a transfer authorization form for $250,000 from our joint savings account to an LLC I'd never heard of, Cascade Development Partners. The signature line for my authorization was blank, but Michael's signature was already there, dated 2 weeks ago. My hands started shaking. $250,000. That was nearly everything we'd saved. Our retirement fund. The money I'd carefully set aside from my business earnings. The inheritance from my mother. All of it. About to be transferred to some company I'd never even heard of. I opened our laptop, still sitting on the bed where they'd left it. Michael was predictable with passwords. I tried our wedding date. Incorrect. I tried his mother's birthday. Incorrect. Then I tried our daughter Rachel's birthday. It worked. What I found in his email made me physically sick. Months of correspondence between Michael, Amanda, and his business partner, James. They'd been planning this for almost a year. Cascade Development Partners was their company, registered in Delaware. They'd been setting up what they called investment opportunities, but what was really a scheme to funnel money from their clients, including me, into their own real estate ventures. High-risk properties that would either make them rich or bankrupt everyone who'd trusted them. But it got worse. There was an email from 3 months ago where James joked about Michael's wife problem. Michael had responded, "Don't worry. After 25 years, she trusts me completely. She'll sign whatever I put in front of her. And if she doesn't, I have her signature from other documents. Amanda says that'll work just fine." They were planning to forge my signature. I kept reading, each email making me feel more nauseous. They'd done this to 4 other couples already. The Hendersons, our neighbors who'd recently downsized from their dream home. The Patels, who'd been members of our country club before they mysteriously moved away. 2 other families I didn't know. All of them had lost their savings to Michael's schemes. There was an email from last week, 25th anniversary party tonight. After she signs, we're clear. The transfer completes Monday morning. By the time she realizes anything's wrong, the money will already be invested and legally untouchable. So that was his plan. He was going to use our anniversary as the moment to get my signature, probably disguising it as something romantic, a new investment in our future together. And I would have signed it, trusting him completely. I thought about all the signs I'd missed. The late-night phone calls he said were work emergencies, the business trips that seemed to accomplish nothing, the way he'd been so eager for me to take that Seattle trip today. He'd practically pushed me out the door this morning. I sat there for an hour, crying and reading through email after email. Then something shifted inside me. Anger replaced the hurt. I wasn't going to let them do this to me, and I wasn't going to let them do it to anyone else. I called my friend Diana, an attorney who specialized in financial fraud. She came to my house within 30 minutes. I showed her everything. She photographed every email, every document, every piece of evidence I'd found. "This is serious," she said, her face grave. "Wire fraud, forgery, conspiracy to commit fraud. Elizabeth, we need to call the police." "Not yet," I said. "I have a better idea." I still had that surprise party planned for tonight. 60 people expecting to celebrate my 25 years of marriage. Michael thought I was in Seattle. He had no idea I knew anything. "Are you thinking what I think you're thinking?" Diana asked, the corner of her mouth lifting slightly. "I'm thinking that everyone who loves us should know the truth," I said. "And I'm thinking that Michael is expecting a surprise tonight. He's just not expecting this kind." We spent the next 3 hours preparing. Diana contacted the district attorney, who was very interested in the case. We arranged for 2 detectives to be present at the party, dressed as guests. I called the venue coordinator, and made some changes to the evening's program, and I practiced what I was going to say, over and over, until my voice stopped shaking. At 6, I texted Michael exactly as planned. Meeting finished early. Let's celebrate at the Riverside Inn. 7 o'clock. I have a surprise for you. He responded immediately. Perfect. I have a surprise for you too. I bet he did. Probably had the transfer papers in his pocket, ready to present over champagne. I arrived at the Riverside Inn at 6:30. The rooftop garden looked beautiful. Twinkling lights, flower arrangements, a stage for the band. 60 people were already there, hiding and waiting to surprise Michael. What they didn't know was that everyone was about to be surprised. Diana stood next to me near the entrance. The 2 detectives were positioned by the bar, looking like ordinary guests. My hands were trembling, but I felt oddly calm. 25 years of my life were about to explode, but at least I'd be the one lighting the fuse. Michael arrived at 7 sharp. He walked through the door, and everyone shouted, "Surprise!" His face went through several emotions in rapid succession. Genuine shock, delight, confusion, and then, when his eyes found mine, something that looked like panic. He recovered quickly, putting on his charming smile. "Elizabeth, you did all this?" "I did," I said, walking over to him. "I wanted our 25th anniversary to be unforgettable." "It already is," he said, pulling me into a hug. Against my ear, he whispered, "I thought you were in Seattle." "Plans changed," I whispered back. Lots of plans changed. The party proceeded normally for the first hour. People ate, drank, danced. Michael kept trying to pull me aside, probably to present whatever documents he'd brought. I kept deflecting, saying we'd have time later, that I wanted to enjoy the party with our friends first. At 8 o'clock, the band stopped playing. The venue coordinator handed me a microphone. This was the moment we'd planned for me to give a speech about our marriage, followed by Michael's surprise video message from his college roommate. "Thank you all for coming," I started. My voice echoed across the rooftop. "As you know, today is my 25th wedding anniversary with Michael." Everyone clapped. Michael stood beside me, beaming. He had no idea what was coming. 25 years is a long time," I continued. "Long enough to build a life together, to have children, start businesses, make investments, to trust each other completely." I paused, which is why what I discovered today is so heartbreaking. The crowd went quiet. Michael's smile froze. "This morning, I told my husband I was flying to Seattle for a business meeting, but I actually stayed in Portland. And when I came home this afternoon to pick up something I'd forgotten, I found him in our bedroom with our financial advisor, Amanda Rhodes." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I saw Amanda near the back, starting to move toward the exit. One of the detectives smoothly blocked her path. "Now, before your minds go where mine initially went, they weren't having an affair." I looked at Michael. His face had gone completely white. They were planning something much worse. They were planning to steal every penny I've saved over 25 years of marriage. I pulled out my phone and the printed emails Diana had prepared. With the help of my husband's business partner, James Thompson, they created a fake investment company. They've been using it to defraud clients for months. And tonight, on our anniversary, Michael was planning to get me to sign papers that would transfer our entire life savings into this fraudulent scheme. The crowd erupted. People were shouting questions, expressions of disbelief. I saw James pushing through the crowd, also trying to leave. The second detective intercepted him. Michael grabbed my arm. "Elizabeth, this is insane. You're making a scene based on a misunderstanding." I shook him off. "I read your emails, Michael. All of them. After 25 years, she trusts me completely. She'll sign whatever I put in front of her." Those were your words. His face crumbled. For a second, I saw something real there. Maybe remorse, maybe just fear of being caught. "I want to thank everyone for coming tonight," I said into the microphone, "because you're all witnesses to the moment Michael Thompson's house of cards collapsed." I gestured to the detectives, who were now showing their badges. "These are Detectives Morrison and Chen from the Portland Police Department's Fraud Division. They have some questions for Michael, Amanda, and James." The rooftop erupted into chaos. Some people were crying, some were angry, some were taking out their phones to record everything. Our daughter Rachel pushed through the crowd to me, tears streaming down her face. "Mom, is this real?" she asked. I hugged her. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way. But yes, it's real." Michael was being led away by the detectives, shouting that this was all a misunderstanding, that I'd taken things out of context. Amanda and James were also in custody, both of them silent and pale. Diana appeared at my side. "You did it," she said quietly. "Are you okay?" Was I okay? I'd just destroyed my 25-year marriage in front of 60 people. I'd exposed my husband as a criminal. I'd ended the life I thought I knew. But I'd also saved my life savings, and potentially saved other people from being victimized. And I'd stood up for myself in a way I never had before. "I will be," I said. The aftermath took months to sort through. Michael, Amanda, and James were all charged with multiple counts of wire fraud and conspiracy. The evidence was overwhelming. Michael's laptop, the emails, the testimony from previous victims, all of it painted a clear picture of a systematic fraud scheme. Michael tried to negotiate at first, claiming he'd planned to pay everyone back once the investments paid off. But as more evidence emerged, his story fell apart. He eventually pleaded guilty to avoid trial. He was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. Amanda got 6 years. James got 7. The three of them lost their professional licenses, their reputations, and their freedom. The divorce was straightforward. With Michael's criminal conviction, there was no question about asset division. I kept our house, my business, and what was left of our savings. The court ordered him to make restitution from any future earnings, though I wasn't holding my breath on ever seeing that money. The Hendersons, the Patels, and the 2 other couples who'd been defrauded got some of their money back through the criminal restitution process. Not all of it, but enough to rebuild. We formed a support group, actually. 5 families who'd been betrayed by someone they trusted. We met monthly, shared our stories, helped each other heal. Rachel struggled with it for a while. She loved her father, despite everything he'd done. I never tried to turn her against him. I told her she was allowed to love him and be angry at him at the same time. She visits him occasionally in prison. I don't ask about it, and she doesn't volunteer information. That's her relationship to navigate. As for me, I rebuilt. I threw myself into my interior design business, and it flourished. Turned out that being known as the woman who'd publicly exposed her criminal husband made me somewhat famous in Portland. I got more clients than I could handle. I hired 2 new designers and expanded into commercial properties. I also started dating again, though I took it slow. Trust wasn't something I was ready to give easily anymore. But I met a kind man named Robert at a charity auction. He was a retired teacher, a widower, someone who understood loss and rebuilding. We've been seeing each other for 2 years now. It's different from what I had with Michael. Quieter, simpler, more honest. I like it. People often ask if I regret the way I handled that anniversary. If I should have just called the police quietly instead of making a public spectacle. My answer is always the same. No. Michael had planned to humiliate me privately, to slowly drain away everything I'd worked for while I remained oblivious. He thought I was weak, trusting, easy to manipulate. He'd literally written in an email that I'd sign whatever he put in front of me. That public exposure wasn't just about revenge. Though I won't pretend revenge didn't feel good. It was about taking back my power. It was about showing him, and showing myself, that I wasn't the person he thought I was. I was stronger than he'd ever given me credit for. And it sent a message to everyone there that night. Pay attention, trust carefully, and if someone betrays you, don't go quietly. My 25th wedding anniversary didn't end the way I'd planned. I'd envisioned dancing with Michael under the stars, celebrating a quarter-century of partnership, maybe renewing our vows with tears of joy. Instead, I watched my husband get led away in handcuffs while our friends and family stood in shocked silence. But you know what? That night was still a celebration. Not of my marriage, but of my liberation, of choosing to fight instead of being a victim, of trusting myself enough to act on what I knew was true, even when it meant destroying the life I thought I had. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the best thing that could have happened. I lost a husband who'd betrayed me, but I found a strength I never knew I had. And that's a better anniversary gift than anything Michael ever could have given me. These days, when I tell people about my 25th wedding anniversary party, they're usually horrified. They apologize, say how sorry they are that it happened to me. I appreciate their kindness, but I don't need their pity. Because I'm not the one in prison. I'm not the one who destroyed my career and reputation. I'm not the one who betrayed someone who loved me for 25 years. I'm the one who got away, the one who fought back, the one who's now living the life I deserve, surrounded by people who genuinely care about me, building a future based on honesty instead of lies. And if I could go back to that morning when I left for my fake Seattle trip, would I do anything differently? Not a single thing. Well, maybe one thing. I would have planned that anniversary party at an even bigger venue, because the story of the woman who exposed her criminal husband at their anniversary celebration became local legend. And honey, if you're going to blow up your life, you might as well do it with style.